right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the ADOS podcast. I'm your host, Christian, and we have your other host,
Elijah Norris Holiday. What's going on, everybody?
and we want to thank you for tuning in to the ADOS podcast. Make sure you check us out on on Apple Podcasts at the ADOS podcast, on Facebook at the ADOS podcast, on YouTube, and you guessed it, at the ADOS podcast. So we have a guest speaker today, but before we get into our guests, I'm going to have Elijah do some opening words.
Yeah, it's been a crazy week. As you all know, the trial for the impeachment of Donald Trump, the second trial of the impeachment of Donald Trump has begun, and a lot of people have mixed feelings about it. My thing is, it just needs to happen just so we don't set that precedent that the president can do whatever they like on the way out of office and there's no consequences and repercussions. We just have to uphold some type of legal precedent and just let that person know in that office that they are going to be held to a high standard and they are bound by the laws of our Constitution and our nation. So that's really what I've been just honestly exploring this last week, and then also just doing more community work, man. I think everyone thinks because we got a new president now that all the problems in our community has just magically disappeared, and that's not the case. In fact, a lot of people are still struggling to this day trying to get through this pandemic. So, man, it's been a busy week, and I just want to encourage everyone just to continue to learn and continue to reach out to your neighbors, make sure that you're doing your part to make sure we're caring for one another, and try to learn as much as you can, especially during this Black History Month, man. I actually started a new book called The 48 Laws of Black Empowerment. I have it with me. I'll probably share a passage out of it towards the end of the podcast, but check that out when you get a chance. Some good information in there.
And that's really good information. Thank you, Elijah. And yes, happy Black History Month, everyone. In order for us to get real systemic change, we have to continue to do it. The work does not stop here. So we do have an amazing guest joining us on our studio today, and we have a former NFL player for the Green Bay Packers, Darrell Thompson. How you doing, Darryl?
Doing well. Thank you guys for bringing me in this afternoon on a nice chilly afternoon.
It is very cold. It is a chilly afternoon. So, Darryl, we're just going to get into it. How much money did you lose betting on the Chiefs in the Super Bowl? We're just going to jump at it.
Hey, I'll tell you what. I have a job broadcasting football. I've been doing that for the last 22 or 23 years for the University of Minnesota. And one thing I know from being a former running back and a football player and a broadcaster is that when you do not have an offensive line or you have injuries in your offensive line, it can make for a really long day. So I did not put any money on the Kansas City Chiefs as much as I think Patrick Mahomes is a musician. He's a great quarterback. He's got a bright future in the NFL. If he doesn't have time to pass, get the ball downfield, I think it's going to be a long day at the office. I thought the game would be closer than it was, but I wasn't terribly surprised when you don't have time. It makes for a long day at the office.
I agree. You got anything you want to add?
Well, especially when you're going up with a seasoned vet like Tom Brady. And I was looking at some of the statistics with Tom Brady. So he's been in the league for, 20 years. I think one season he sat out the complete year, so let's say 19. And I think he's visited the Super Bowl 10 times in his career. Mm-hmm. I mean, to me, that's just phenomenal. I mean, over half of your career and some, you've been to the Super Bowl. So he's a seasoned vet like no other.
And won 7 out of 10. So that's really hard to do. Darryl, I'm sure you know that's really hard to do.
Most people don't get to the Super Bowl. You know, it's the hardest thing. I never got to the Super Bowl. I played in the NFL for almost 6 years. And it's a really, really difficult game to get to. You got to win. You got to be healthy. You got to have all things right. So to win, almost half of his career, he's been in the NFL for a little over 20 years. And, he's one of the greatest, if not the greatest quarterbacks of all time. So having him on the opposing offense didn't help anything.
Yeah, not at all.
Absolutely not. Great quarterback. Good game. I also wish it was closer. I didn't bet any money, although if I did, it was going to be on definitely Tom Brady. And I was just telling people, if I do bet, it's on Tom Brady. I don't care about the other players, anything. I'm not going to bet against Tom Brady ever. It's just a bad decision. So Darrell, Mr. Thompson, thank you for joining us. Would you mind just telling the audience who you are?
Well, I mean, Darrell Thompson, that's my name. And I've been moved to Minnesota when I was a kid. My parents are from the South. My mom's from Mississippi. My dad's from St. Louis, Missouri. And they felt like Rochester would be a good place. My dad was an engineer, and that's how we got to Rochester. And both my parents were extremely athletic. So that was, they blessed me with the athletics genetically. And also, they were very, very community service minded. My parents had other kids in their houses. My mom was a volunteer. My dad was a volunteer. So that's been it's been in my blood since I was a kid. And I was lucky enough to be able to earn a scholarship to play football at the University of Minnesota. And I played there for 4 years and got drafted by the Green Bay Packers and played there for 5 years. And I started working part-time for the Minneapolis JC's Charitable Foundation and Boulder Options, and that grew to a full-time position a few years, probably about 8 or 9 months after I got done playing pro ball, and I've been here since. So this is my 26th year with the organization, and my wife and I have 4 kids, and we have our first granddaughter about 7 months ago. So I've been very blessed.
Yeah, congratulations on becoming a grandpa. Like, what is that like?
What's funny? It's pretty nice because I've only been a parent. I've been a parent for 28 years, and when you're a parent, you got the full-time gig. So you got you got to feed them, you got to bathe them, you got to change diapers, you got everything, and then when you become a grandparent, it cuts down on everything significantly. So, my daughter works with me here at Boulder Options. She's in 1 day a week. She brings the baby in. I hold the baby, for maybe 10 or 15 minutes out of the day. Hey, she's got to go to the bathroom or change her or put her down for a nap. That's it. But it's a blessing being a grandparent, and it's just fun. Really, it's a lot of fun because my daughter and her husband, they're good parents. So I'm not worried. It's mostly just fun, just holding her and playing with her. And she doesn't do much yet, but she's starting to crawl now. So it's just getting more and more engaging.
And the beautiful thing is, and you mentioned it, you get to spend the time with the kids, do your thing with them, and then send them back off to their parents when you're tired of it.
Well, you know what? I haven't even gotten tired of her because we haven't even got to that level yet. We're just at the level where you hold her for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe a half hour. And, when they're still 6, 7 months, there's just not a lot. We're not doing any overnights yet or anything like that. So I haven't even got anywhere close to being tired of, or not tired, but we're like, I'm like, oh my God, what did I get into? So we're, it's in the very, very fun stage right now.
Yeah, I'll give you 2 years for that one. And we'll see if you're still in the fun stages, which I'm sure you're going to be because you're awesome. Another question I got, we're about to get deep into this because, I want the people to know like what you stand for, not as just a former athlete, but just as a person. So what has life been like for you post NFL, and what's new besides being a grandpa?
Well, I mean, post NFL, it's a transition. One thing that I loved, quite honestly, about football, number one, especially professional football, you have a nice salary, but you also depend on yourself. And everything from the head, you got to be smart and all that to play football. But it was me, and it was how if I was in condition, if I was in shape, if I was doing my job, I could maintain my job, and that was a blessing. The transition when you get out of football is all the other outside influences, the demands, then you have kids. So the transition in the first was challenging because it wasn't physical. It's an emotional. It's getting used to. I wouldn't even call it a 9 to 5 because there's no such thing. At least in my world, I work from. Sometimes it's 8 o'clock till 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, and sometimes it's 9 to 5, and sometimes it's 8 o'clock in the morning till midnight. So you never know exactly what's going on, but you get into that flow, and then you just, you decide. And I knew I wanted to do something with youth and something with community, and Boulder Options has been that vehicle. for me for the last 25, 26 years, and I've seen birthdays, graduations. I've held babies of kids that have graduated from our program, and we get notes and we get calls, and people stop by the building. So the impact of our organization and the mentors and our staff on young people has been phenomenal.
You know, I was reading about voter options, and I saw that you all do mentoring for a year-long process. You all meet with the mentees once a week for an entire year, if not longer than that. So to me, that immediately was like they're establishing deep, extensive relationships with these young people. Relationships that need to be established, right? A lot of these young people, I'm assuming, don't have mentorship in their life. They don't have people that they can look up to and and seek guidance from. What is that like, just to have that impact on someone's life?
Well, I think you hit on something there, and it's the depth of the relationship. So we're getting together many times, 2 times per week over the course of the year, and that's 45 or 50 meetings, and we're setting goals, and we're talking about nutrition and goal setting and anger management and financial literacy. So all those topics happen over the course of a year, and what really happens, you end up building a relationship. 2 people that care about each other far more than they originally planned on, and it's we call it 1 year, 2 lives changed. And really, it's even more than that, because it's the community, it's the family, and everyone. And typically, our young people, they're graduating from high school, they're going on to post-secondary, they're getting education, and they become productive citizens. And the main reason is because a positive adult role model, got involved in their life. And typically, it's more than one. Typically, it's 2 while you're here. You got a program manager, you got your mentor, and you have other influences on you that are positive. And once somebody has that, the world is their oyster.
How difficult has it been to interact with folks through Zoom meetings and Google Hangout and just these other online platforms, not being able to have that physical connection anymore and have to transition to completely online? How has that been like for you and your staff?
It's been a challenge, but it's also just something that we've had to adjust, just like everyone. You get better at it. You learn how to, position your background. You learn how to connect to the internet, either on your phone, a tablet, or a computer. And then you just have to, you just got to deal with it, and take the time to be patient and to maintain a relationship like that. And we've also done as much in-person as you can. We had some mentors and a mentor and a mentee that come, so we can have, like 1 person in the building at a time, or 2 people. We can have, I think, up to 3 people. Our building is big enough to have is up to 3 different pairs in the building at one time. So we'll do some in-person stuff, and then we did a lot of outside stuff, up until probably about a little over a month ago. So, and then we'll probably start those up here at the end of this month, and early March, those things will come back too. So it's really just about making the best of a really difficult situation and having some fun with it.
Absolutely. How are you all been addressing the lack of technology in some of the households in the community? Has that been a huge issue for you? Just kids not having access to internet and technology?
Well, quite honestly, we attack it head on, and even to my, I wouldn't say my dismay, I'm actually impressed. One of my coworkers, the young guy, he actually went and helped the family set up their router at their house. He just went over there, put a mask on, and said, "Hey, we just got to get this set up," So we'll do it ourselves sometimes if we have to. We have helped provide tablets. We provided headphones so that people can at least kind of, have a little bit. If they have a tighter quarters, they can put the headphones on. They can either get in a corner or go to a room or somewhere else and be able to be a part of what's going on. So we just try to be as engaging and helpful as possible through this very, very challenging time with the COVID.
That's amazing. I love that you guys attack the problem head on and just get in and just get the work done. You guys don't make any excuses. That's amazing. Honestly, it's commendable.
Yeah, it shows lots of character, and to me, it shows more than just, a community. Like mentoring is something, in my opinion, that's like underestimated, because a lot of people don't really tax it as like a tangible resource. But I think of mentoring as like a lifelong partnership. We all have mentors. Darryl, I'm sure you have mentors. Elijah, I know you have mentors. I have mentors, and I learn from all of them. Sometimes you have one, sometimes you have two. I have about 20. and the reason
he's
why
not kidding either.
Yeah, I am not kidding. I have 20, and the reason why is because each one of my mentors have something that I can learn from them and something that I can take with me into the real world. And Darryl, you're one of my mentors. Like, we talk all the time. You just, hey, how much bottles of gallons of water did you drink today? And I'm like, 5, when really I drank none. So I know Darryl would get on me, but it's something about I want the audience and our viewers and listeners to know that mentoring is important in our community. And all the great people we look at, whether they're an athlete, whether they're a politician, whether they're an artist, whatever field they're in, they had somebody that pushes them and positively influenced their life.
And I want to elaborate a little bit on what you were just hitting at, Christian. A key piece for mentoring, for me at least, is that accountability piece, right? I know you just made a joke about Darryl calling you up, asking you about your water intake, but that's a serious thing, though, right? It's that accountability piece. You say you're going to set a goal. You say you want to do something. When I was your mentor, it's my responsibility now. I'm taking on that responsibility to make sure you live up to that. And honestly, my mentors have done that for me. I mean, at numerous points in my, in undergrad, I wanted to drop out just dealing with life, my mom being sick and stuff happening at home and, things happening with my dad's businesses, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. They always held me together, and said, Elijah, you set this goal that you want to graduate college. Don't let anything else that happens to your life deter you from that. It was that accountability piece that I needed. And I feel like a lot of our young people need that. Darryl, what are some important tenets to mentoring that you see or that you value?
I think one of the most important pieces that I value or a tenet would be consistency, and also you have to be patient. I wish that everyone would say, hey, you know what? Christian, you should drink, 12 cups of water a day. And he's like, yeah, right. And he probably doesn't, but sometimes he drinks 12 cups. Sometimes he drinks 10 cups. Sometimes he drinks 15. But it's also just about being consistent with your mentor when it's accountability, whether it's being frustrated that they didn't do their homework or they showed up late or they didn't call you back because life gets in the way and everyone doesn't have a bunch of positive role models involved in their life. So it's about accountability, being there for that individual and helping them live their life. And then, we talked about it earlier, Elijah, a lot of it's about listening. A lot of times, one of the most important things that a mentor can do is actually listen to the mentee, to the goals that he or she wants to set and say, hey, you know what? That sounds like a great idea. Or, hey, have you ever thought about this? I remember one of my first young men that I work with really wanted to buy a gun to protect himself. And then we sat down together and he talked about, I just said, why do you want to have a gun? And he went through all the reasons. And then, after about 15 minutes, he goes, actually, I don't think I need a gun. Probably not a good idea. But he arrived there himself. All I did was listen for 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I think it was a lunch. It might have been a full hour, but I listened. I was kind of in my head. I'm like, I just want to say, man, that hitting a gun is like the dumbest thing you can do. But I was like, well, tell me why you want to get a gun. And he explained all of it to me. And then he was like, actually, I don't think I should. So listening is powerful.
And you're right. We did speak on that right before we started the podcast. And it's something that I value, as a continued learner, as a lifelong learner, is listening. And I feel like a lot of our young people need to do a lot more of that. And our elders need to do a lot more talking so we can listen and have something of substance to listen to. So again, I commend what you all are doing at Bowdoin Options, and certainly you, having met you, having listened to you now, I know that you're a good mentor because you also prioritize listening. And, we can really solve a lot of our problems if we just do that one very basic thing, or what should be a basic thing is listening to one another.
Or being willing to try something new. I think it's always, it's interesting to to watch and to see, even as our organization's grown, I have learned things from young employees that are core to what we do right now. We had one young man who goes, "Hey, you know what I really want to do, Darryl? I want to cook with the kids." This is like 14 or 15 years ago. And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know. That sounds like a lot." He goes, "Yeah, we're going to give them knives. We're gonna set up, but everyone's going to have a station. We're going to have the oven." I was like, "That sounds dangerous, you know?" And, but I said, "You know what, Nick? You're going to be safe. You're going to have, you know, people in there, volunteers, a couple of your other, you know, coworkers with you." And it ended up being one of the best things we've ever done. You know, the kids learn how to cook. They learn the importance of, you know, cleaning their food, how to be careful and safe with knives, about cooking temperatures, the simmer, the boil, the how long, and all those different pieces. And it gave them confidence in the kitchen. And also they realized that they could save money cooking food on their own. And now it's something we do every quarter. It's not even, it's just a totally normal piece of what we do. And we've added nutrition to it and a cooking class and learning about cooking from other cultures. So now it's a whole big deal. But in my head, I was like, "Oh, I don't know, but you know what? Let's try it." You know, and it's been one of the best things we've ever done.
So that started off as just an idea that you're originally skeptical about, and then it transpired into what sounds like a complete program now that you guys are offering.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and nutrition and cooking is part of what we do at Boulder Options, just to give the kids an opportunity to see what they can do in the kitchen, realize, you know, hey, let's chop up an apple and eat. Hey, let's have some apple and some cheese, talk about nutrition, talk about the importance of drinking water. So, I mean, Christian, you get on me about, or I get on you about drinking water, but it's important. It's vital.
I do drink
it's one of the
water.
most important things that people don't do that can solve probably about half of your health problems can be solved by increasing your water intake, from your digestion to headaches and everything else.
And you're absolutely right about that. I recently started working out again, and I also need to increase my water intake, especially after intensive workouts. So I did squats today. My plan is to finish a gallon of water today. I should have brought my water bottle. I left it in the car rushing in, but I should have brought my water bottle so I can be getting my ounces in. But I'm definitely trying to establish that routine of drinking more water. It is important.
Yeah, nutrition is important. And I do joke, Darryl, when you message me, I definitely have my water. Sometimes it's like 12 right after that message. It's like, oh, I didn't have my water today. But, you know, I love the accountability piece, because you're not obligated. You don't owe me anything. You don't owe anybody anything. Well, except Boulder Options, but so you owe the kids and the young adults at Boulder Options, but to get that, it is powerful, because not only does it say, yeah, you know, take care of your health, it says I care about you, you know, like I care about you. I see what potential you have, and that's why you never asked to be a mentor, but I kind of categorized you as a mentor, because it's ongoing, consistent, you know, nudges and budges to continue to do what I'm doing.
And you know, and I like that you just told that story and you explain you all's relationship, because I feel like I gain more out of a mentorship relationship when it just develops organically, right? I've had mentors in, you know, middle school and stuff that were kind of forced on me, and I just could not open up to those people. I didn't have a connection with those people. It just never transpired into anything great. And then I got to high school, and I had these people come in, and, you know, they just wanted to know about my life. They wanted to know what I was interested in. They wanted to know my goals. They wanted to know how they can support me. And those relationships just slowly turned into a mentorship relationship, right? But originally, it was just them having conversations with me versus me getting assigned to a mentor and just us not even being able to have a simple conversation, because it was just like, dude, I don't even know you.
Yeah.
Darryl, so you're the president now of Boulder Options.
Yeah.
So congratulations on that. We know that comes with increased responsibilities and duties. All that I know you're very capable of handling and doing, and you're already doing some great work. What has been some difficult things transitioning into that role, though?
Well, I didn't start out as president. I started out as a program person working in the front line, and then little by little was able to escalate to this position. And a lot of it's just by trial and error, by fault. And I think probably the hardest thing and I've learned it. I have to embrace it. For me, at least, was fundraising. I said I just want to I want to work with the young people. I want to talk to them. I want to mentor them. I want to try to show them a better, maybe more healthy way. And that the fundraising piece was something I learned I had to grow into. I had to mature. I had to be comfortable in my own shoes, my own skin, to be able to communicate with people the importance of supporting an organization and our organization. And I've gotten better at it over the years. I still have a ways to go, but I've gotten a lot better and a lot more comfortable with it, because it's important, and one of my mentors said, no money, no mission. And he's right. People will come out for a little while and help out, but if you don't have the ability to pay people, it becomes unsustainable. And we just don't want to have that. We want to have Boulder Options here for the long haul.
Definitely agree. Having a nonprofit of my own, it is difficult to secure grants and make sure that you have donations coming in. And it is an uncomfortable thing having to shake people down for money. But when you're producing great results, people just want to give. And I know Christian's okay with this. And if you're okay with it, I want you to just tell the audience, why they should contribute, why they should support what y'all are doing at Boulder Options. We hope to use this video as a marketing tool for you, potentially, or at least this segment of it. So if you want to, in less than 2 minutes or whatever, tell folks why they should donate, where they can donate, and what your all's mission is and what you're trying to accomplish. I think that can go a long ways in us helping you get some more dollars your way.
And before you answer really quick, Darryl, and also really, enrolling your kids into the programming itself, because that is special, and that's something that can never be taken away from them once they become a part of the Boulder Options team.
Yeah, absolutely. It's 2 minutes is I'll do my best. I think our goal, number one, is to introduce kids to a healthy lifestyle through running, biking, tutoring, and homework. And the reason I think it's important is because, we have the largest achievement gap in the United States right here in Minnesota. Boulder Options closes that achievement gap. Boulder Options is part of the pipeline from a middle school, high school, college to career. And we have young ladies and young men that are in corporate America and in the private sector and the nonprofit sector and in college that are successful. And you're also preventing people from going down the wrong path. And every youth that we save from going down that path saves our community over $2 million just in lost wages, court cost, all those things. It costs like $70,000 to $150,000 per year to have someone locked up. It costs like $3,500 for someone to go through our program. So, you can pay me now or you can pay me later. So a program like ours, or a lot of other programs, there's a lot of wonderful programs in our community. So to support us or someone else in the community is extremely important, and you're paying it forward.
Okay. I think you did great. I think you did great.
Yeah, I'm just like, because I'm learning so much and I'm quite familiar, but it's like, every time I get new information about this program, I'm like inspired myself. And it's like, okay, we really have to get the word out. And Elijah, Minneapolis, that's you.
Yeah.
You're aware of Boulder Options now. You get involved.
And now, actually, that we're talking, so I was doing some work at the legislature right before COVID-19 hit and everything switched to, working from home. And I actually gave a presentation with one of my colleagues, Jason Chavez, who worked at the legislature at that time as well. And we talked with a group of youth who came in with Boulder Options. Now that I think about it, that was actually the group that came in. And they had about, I think, 20 to 25 young people at the Capitol that day. Wow. And we were talking to them just about what it was like to work in the legislature. And, Jason's 26, I'm 24. So as young people, being around a lot of older people, the responsibilities and duties that we had and ways that they can get involved at a young age and the policy process. and in the political atmosphere as well. So it was great actually being able to talk with those young people, and voter options actually brought them in. So
it's kind of part of what we talk about that I think is very, very important is our young people to see that, to see you, Elijah, to see someone like Christian, to be able to meet the other folks and be able to walk the halls of the Capitol, of the state buildings, because then if you don't ever get to see it, then you'll never think that you can be it, and you can be the next, Keith Ellis, you can be the next Governor Walz, you can be the next, president of the United States, So I think you have to see it and feel, and that's one of our goals at Voter Options, that we provide as many experiences. We have kids go to the Boundary Waters. We have kids go to the Capitol. We've had kids go to Washington, D.C. We've had, kids testify and do all kinds of different things. So to get them in that environment and to get them comfortable speaking is very, very important.
It's about that exposure, right? So a little bit about my story. I was born in Chicago, Illinois, on the south side, Inglewood. And I traveled back and forth between Rockford and Chicago. Rockford is a small town outside of Chicago, about 75 miles. Maybe you're familiar, maybe you're not. But both of those environments were terrible. Drugs, violence, alcohol, generational trauma. Anything you can think of, I experienced at a very young age. So my perception of life was already at a disadvantage compared to everyone else, right, that wasn't living in that environment. And when my father took us in and moved us to Minnesota with him after a long custody battle with my mother for years, we moved to White Bear Lake. So imagine going from the south side of Chicago and Inglewood to White Bear Lake, Minnesota, the culture shock I experienced. I mean, only black guy on the football team, only black guy on the track team. Oftentimes the only black kid in the classroom. When I first came to Minnesota, I was in 6th grade. I had the reading and comprehension of a 4th grader. And I talk about that all the time because I was severely disadvantaged. And when I got here, my dad just started enrolling us into basketball, track, football. Eventually, I would go, get into the 8th grade, and I got my first job at a golf course where I got to talk with doctors, lawyers, pediatricians, businessmen, real estate agents, because it was a yacht club. So these are people who had prestigious careers. These are affluent people. And just being introduced to that, right? Being in that different environment, that exposure, to me, was like, dude, you can do these things. You could become somebody. You can, be in this position just like this guy next to you is. And the difference is your mind, right? And had I stayed in Chicago, I don't think I would honestly be alive, to be honest with you, or probably in jail. A lot of my friends that I grew up with in Chicago and Rockford aren't alive or they're in jail. So, I mean, just having that exposure piece, what you mentioned, is just so important for our young people. We got young people in St. Paul that's never left their community. We got young people in Minneapolis that have never left Minneapolis. They don't know what other places are like. They haven't experienced it yet.
Yeah, experience is not only the best teacher. One of my mentors says it's the only teacher.
Yeah,
I like that.
That is powerful. And I know, Darryl, we're going to go ahead and get ready to get you out of here, but this is going to be your exit ticket. What do you want our viewers and listeners to know? What is some advice or, just something? What do you think our viewers and listeners should know?
Well, I think probably the most important thing to me and I think we saw it in this last election, is that every life matters. Every vote matters, and people need to show up. And I think that, when people show up, show that they care and want to be part of the solution, then we can make this world a better place. And hopefully we'll continue with that.
Wow, that was powerful. And just to throw a cherry on top of that beautifully cake you just baked for us, our sister Leslie Redmond, former president of the NAACP chapter here in Minneapolis, says, "Don't complain, activate." And I love that. I try to use that phrase as much as possible, always giving credit to her. But don't complain, activate. We know that.
The other thing I think, Elijah, that maybe the most important piece for me is to show up. When you show up, people are like, oh, then you'll have a voice, you'll have an opportunity, anything from your student council at school to the election at the state level or on the national level. But if you don't show up, then you're just like, well, I wonder why there's no jelly beans in the candy machine. Well, and you didn't show up. So I don't know. You got to eat M&Ms, or you got to eat something else. You show up, then you'll get what you want. You got a shot. At least you have a voice. You can rally. Get some other votes. Maybe you can have your Skittles or something else. But if you don't show up, you don't get the Skittles. And it goes all the way from not getting Skittles to not being able to vote, or to redistricting and changing the lines that make it challenging to move through with legislation.
All right. Yeah, that's important. And before we get you out of here, just really quickly, I want you to know, Darryl, that over at Voter Options, you have the next voter option president within your program. So I'm just going to throw that out there. I'm going to give you homework. You like to hold me accountable for water. You identify which mentee is in that program that wants to be the next Darrell Thompson, and even better.
Oh, I've identified a few of them. It'll be interesting to see who it is.
It's going to be all of them.
I believe I've said it at many graduations that's my goal, that a young lady or young man is sitting in my seat one day, and they got whatever floats their boat as decorations in their office, and that they're running the whole ship. So I'm sure that'll happen one day.
Okay.
Thanks, Christian. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Hopefully, and thank you for taking the time to join us on the ADOS podcast, sir. I really appreciate the insight, the wisdom, and just overall being able to meet you. So thank you, Christian, also for making the connection.
Of course. Thank you, Darryl.
All right, we'll be in touch, Elijah, and Christian. Of course, great to see both you guys. Thanks a lot for having me on.
Well, everyone, we had Darrell Thompson join us, former Green Bay Packer running back for 5 years. Great guy, now the president of Voter Options, a community-based mentoring program. They have a lot of great initiatives, a lot of great programs that they have going on. Please support them if you can. I will give you all the information that you need to find out what Voter Options is up to. You can log on to www.voteroptions.org. Again, that is www.voteroptions.org. Please donate, sign up to be a mentor. If you got potential mentees or someone in the community that you know that can benefit from having a mentor, get them connected, right? We all have a responsibility to make sure our community have the resources that they need to be empowered and uplifted. And that's the entire mission of the ADOS podcast. That's what we do.
That is exactly what we do. And we just want to thank you guys for supporting, listening, and viewing and sharing. We strongly encourage everyone to continue to uplift this podcast, because we are for the community, and we are the ADOS podcast.
Peace.